Now, you know he was a playboy and a rebel, but how much of his activism are you familiar with? Well, Hugh Hefner opened doors for many African Americans and supported many civil rights causes.
I wouldn't have started Playboy if I was afraid of controversy. I think that controversy is the way you change things.
I want to live in a society in which people can voice unpopular opinions.
Give me the Playboy in Chicago!
He was one of many human beings during that era that fought against injustice.
We repurchased the franchises and opened them up to all of our members, both black and white.
30 years from this year, Negro can become president.
Hef helped build that audience for a different attitude about civil rights.
We published the last piece ever written by Martin Luther King, and we published it shortly after his death. His widow actually edited it. There is an outrageous incongruity of it all, of course, that we should be sitting there in the heft pad listening to Martin Luther King's dream. Yes, well, people don't recognize or realize the extent to which it was part of my dream, too.
Dick Gregory died, of course, August 20th. Hugh Hefner died a little over a month later. This is what Dick Gregory had to say about the importance of Hugh Hefner on his career.
Hefner, when I met you, you had a courage when no one was bringing in blacks and minorities and let you stand flat-footed in America and just talk. You brought me in. You didn't give me no lecture. You came to a black nightclub in Chicago and saw me, and the next thing someone said, Hef, I want you to work the Playboy Club. You gave me no instructions. I was there. And I come here tonight to say, not to roast you, because had you not had the guts you had back then, we black comics that the world have been able to look at and understand our genius, we would be in some pot now roasting in debt and wondering when we're going to make it. So I say, I love you. We thank you.
And not only that, folks, Essence Magazine, of course, when they launched, it was a struggle to get it off of the ground, and it was a $250,000 investment by Hugh Hefner and Playboy that led to Essence being able to launch. That also allowed others to see that level of investment to also invest resources into Essence. And so here you have today this magazine about black female empowerment that was a result of the largest investment at the time by anyone else, Hugh Hefner and Playboy. Joining us by phone is Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., who knew Hugh Hefner well. Reverend Jackson, so many people obviously are highly critical of Hugh Hefner, saying that he played a role in of course, how people view women, how they treat them and degrade them because of showing nude images in the magazine. But then you have this Hugh Hefner, who's a First Amendment advocate. Then you have this Hugh Hefner, who's a civil rights activist as well.
Well, you know, Roland, good morning. But, you know, at the time, you must look at the context. When white people were either very hostile toward black people and pushed away from us, or they were at least passive and would not pull us in. Hefner in those days was a liberal. He reached out and a public identification. That was different. At the time, Dr. King never did the Jack Parr show. And he only did the Johnny Carson show one time. That's when Harry Belafonte was a guest host during those days where we had the right to vote. Hefner reached out and gave a platform to Dick Gregory and to Bill Cosby and the Gospel Cambridge, a platform for Alex Haley. That was a big deal to us. When we would have some of the most fervent discussions around the crucifixion of our time, whether it was civil rights, the anti-Vietnam War, or environmental justice. That was a conversation. Well, his narrative is that of the Playboy in the magazine. Even to integrate the Playboy bunnies was a big deal at that time. Because most social clubs, you know, like the dancers and the dancers that do the annual Christmas thing at RCA Music Hall, were all white. Even then, he integrated those dancers, those playgirls. So Hefner sense, and then when the women's movement finally came into its own, began to protest women being seen as sex objects just because the way they dress. His pro-women agenda was so strong, he neutralized that. He supported the NOW. Now, he supported women's right to choose. He supported Planned Parenthood. He supported women equality. So that, there was a lot of objections to women saying Hefner's women as a kind of, kind of sex object. His program was so strong and inclusive, it never took hold. And his daughter, Christy, likewise, a shout-out progressive today.
All right, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., I wanted to thank you for giving folks that perspective. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Roland.
Thanks a bunch. To our panel real quick, again, I think the most important thing here is when you are talking about someone's life, you do so in a 360-degree view.
That's right.
And you can, and totally understand, you could absolutely criticize Hugh Hefner when it comes to sex, when it comes to view of women, but you also can't overlook what it did mean to have someone who put their resources behind civil rights, but also use those very same pages to also deal with black freedom.
That's right. It's interesting. That piece, what he said about Coretta Scott King, she, just like she did with Jeff Sessions, the perfect obituary, outrageous incongruity. There it is. Hugh Hefner is the quintessential American. He did well while doing good. You got Johnson Publications, Black World, Negro Digest, all that stuff, Ebony. But it took a white dude to elevate those folks in that platform. Alex Haley, who then becomes very prominent. Roots comes out of that. But all that comes while Hugh Hefner is making money like a fat cat. And what does he do? He's before his time. Just like the black folks who play football for the black colleges, just like the NFL who integrates after the AFL comes in. Hugh Hefner was ahead of the curve, and he did well while doing good. Quintessentially American.
Yes, his daughter actually was very supportive of President Obama in the very early days in terms of his Senate race as well. So, I think she probably comes by that honestly. There are other people, Mike Ilitch, who founded Little Caesars, really supported Rosa Parks when she moved to Detroit and her home was broken in. So we certainly need to hold up these voices.
I agree. Hugh Hefner, he's done a lot for civil rights. And doing the research for this show, I had no idea he had been responsible for so many different careers in the launch for different media companies, i.e. Essence Magazine, that kind of thing. So I'm in full support of the obituary and all the positive things, especially what Dick Gregory said about the guy.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.